I've already got my template sort of made up. It does have some of the measurements on this as reference already, but the outside dimensions have obviously been cut off when I've sort of made up that template. So I've got the original there as well. And what I really like about this blueprint setup is that they've included both inches and centimeters in their designs, which makes it easy for anybody who wants to take on this sort of project. I'm going to use some spray glue to put this in place. Normally I would use the type of stuff that's removable or reusable. This is a permanent type that would normally leave residue that would be really hard to clean off. But because this stuff has a plastic film on it that can be peeled off really easily, it means that I can glue it down there, cut it out, and then peel the film off afterwards. Okay, so let's get that cut. When you're cutting out some of these complex shapes on a bandsaw, it will get to the point where the angles won't match because you can't get around far enough to make the cut. In instances like that, it'd be ideal to have this template on both sides so you could just flip from one side to the other. But I found depending on the material that you're working with, you can use the bandsaw blade itself to cut laterally and sort of use it more like a file or a grinder so that you can clear out the area to get a better angle for the cut. The bit that you clear out only needs to be as thick as the blade so that when you reorientate it, you can get the blade in and follow along a straight line. So there we have it. So now I've got to go around and clear up all the furriness on those edges and bring it back to a nice smooth finish, and that'll bring those dimensions in tighter towards the correct size so that everything else matches with the fit. You might notice when I'm cutting this one out that I'm leaving a little extra around the edge on one side there, and when I come to cut the curve I'm going around the outside a little further, following the faceted sections of the curve rather than having the inside line too much. It's always a lot easier to cut that extra material away rather than finding myself short and having to completely remake the piece. I've cut off a strip piece here that once it's attached will bring it up to the right height that it needs to be. And I've also cut a second one that I'll chop up into those faceted pieces that go around the outside of the curve. So I've done a quick measurement check around the diameter of the piece, and the piece that I've cut here is going to be the right size to match it. The trickiest bit with this is probably going to be this tight curve at the top, so I've got to bend that to match that. I've got this little piece out of my junk collection that's the right shape. I'm just going to mark the center line of this piece that I'm using to get the curve, and then I can start bending around it. From there it's just a little bit of fiddling to get it back to the right angle. With that done, I can now start working out the segment section, and I'm just going to use the template to mark out the spacing between each segment so that I can work out where the cuts need to be so that I can maintain those flat sections. You'll see me changing discs here quite a bit. I want to be able to utilise that nice crisp edge on the sanding disc. It'll give me a nice sharp line when I'm cutting into this stuff. I need to cut through the surface layer of aluminium and about halfway through the plastic so that each section can bend appropriately when I form that curve. And even though I'm going to use quite a few of them to get the cut that I want, they're perfectly usable for other stuff anyway, so it's not like I'm wasting them. Now that I've got all those lines cut in, it's just a matter of bending it into the shape. Once again, I'm using the template to make sure that I'm matching up the angles that I need. And the final part of the curve doesn't have any faceting to it, so I'm just bending that by hand to match the curve that I need it to be. So from there, it's just a matter of trimming up the excess so that the corner meets up in the right position. And then that's one part ready for assembly. Pretty much going to be going through and getting all the component pieces made up first before I start the assembly of them. That will give me a little bit more control in terms of the fit and finish of it, rather than committing to put stuff together just to find that I've got to remake it for some reason. With that piece sorted, I'm going to take the other strip that I've got and start chopping it up into these other segment sections that we need, and then they can be cleaned up and set aside for assembly as well. And once I've got all the parts that I need, I can start on the proper assembly all in one go. So according to my plan, I need 13 of these to go around. I've ended up with plenty, plus a few spares. That allows me some quality control if I make any mistakes, or they might even get cut up into other components as well. So I need to check my reference pictures once again, because I think these actually sit a little bit lower rather than being an exact match to the bend. And they are going to have a slight bevel around the edge as well before they end up being attached. So that's what I'll be tackling in the next video, as well as moving on to some of these other smaller component pieces. So anyway guys, that's the update for this time. Thanks for watching. Talk to you next time.